Hello everyone, welcome back to computer science class. In the last session we have started the chapter typical configuration of computer system, and we have discussed about the introduction of the computer, the basic block diagram of the computer, and the main units of the computer, and we have also discussed about central processing unit, motherboard, the characteristics of the motherboard, and the basic types of the motherboard. So, we will continue in this session the components with the topic components of a motherboard. There are basically 7 components of a motherboard. First one is processor, that is central processing unit. Second one is BIOS, which is basic input output system. Third one is CMOS, complementary metal oxide semiconductor. Fourth one is slots. Fifth one is disk controllers, I/O ports and interfaces, and last one is bus. So there are 7 main components of a motherboard. First one is processor, BIOS, CMOS, slots, disk controllers, I/O ports and interfaces, and last one is bus. Let's see one by one. The first component is processor. Processor is nothing but central processing unit. The central processing unit, it is a main component of a motherboard, and it is also called as a brain of the computer. In human body, the brain will do the thinking process, and it will control all the other parts of the body. So, processor which will controls and manages all the functions of a computer. ಹೇಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಂಗಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆಯೋ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. And CPU which contains ALU, control unit and registers. ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. It will do some arithmetic and logical operations on data and instructions. Next is control unit. Control unit it will control the and organizing and processing of data and instruction. Data and instructions will be organized and processed by the control unit, and it also controls and coordinates all the activities of other units of the computer. And next is registers. Registers are temporarily holding of data and instructions. So, when CPU get the instruction or data from the memory, it will check whether the arithmetic and logical operations are needed or not, and if it needed, then it will do some arithmetic and logical operations on that data. Then it will send the processed data to the memory. Next is clock speed. Clock speed is nothing but frequency of the CPU. Frequency with which the CPU executes the instructions in a given time. And ಅಂದ್ರೆ CPU performance ಅನ್ನು ಇದು ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು CPU process ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ. Clock speed is measured millions of cycles per second and billions of cycles per second. Megahertz and gigahertz. Clock speed ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು millions of cycles per second ಅಥವಾ billions of cycles per second ಹಾಗೆ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. And CPU performance is measured by the number of instructions executed per second. ಅಂದ್ರೆ number of instructions ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಇನ್ನು 1 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ CPU ನ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅದು ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಲೈಕ್ millions of instructions per second and billions of instructions per second. Nowadays PCs will contain the clock speed which is more than 1 gigahertz. Next is microprocessor. Microprocessor is nothing but the CPU is fabricated as a single that is IC chip, and also known as a microprocessor. So microprocessor andreno CPU is fabricated as a single integrated circuit, andre put together of all the components of the CPU into a single integrated circuit chip. So that's why it is called as the IC chip, and it is a tiny chip contains the entire computational engine. Andre it's a tiny chip. Tiny is the name itself says that micro is very small. So the chip is called as very tiny chip, and it is plugged into the motherboard of the computer. And Intel is one of the leading processor manufacturer in the world. So the microprocessor is it is a single integrated circuit where all the components of CPU is fabricated into it, and the size is very small, and which will contains entire computational engine. Next component of motherboard is BIOS. BIOS is basic input output system. The main function is it will hold the set of instructions to load the hardware settings which is required to active the various devices such as keyboard, monitor, disk drives. BIOS which will hold this set of instructions. That instructions is used to load the hardware settings which is required to active various devices. Andre devices like keyboard ಅಥವಾ monitor, disk drive ಇರಬಹುದು. ಇದನ್ನ active ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ some of set of instructions ಇವೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಈ BIOS ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತದೆ. So it performs power on self test. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? As soon as you switch on the computer, first BIOS will start. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದು BIOS. ಆವಾಗ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ದಿ ಪವರ್ ಆನ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ವೆದರ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಮದರ್ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್, ಆರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು BIOS. So BIOS invokes or replaces the bootstrap loader to load operating system into memory. BIOS ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ರಿಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ? bootstrap loader. bootstrap loader ಅನ್ನು ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು? to load the operating system into memory. operating system ಅನ್ನು ಲೋಡ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಗೆ ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ BIOS ಏನು bootstrap loader ಅನ್ನು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ನ್ಯೂ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಕಮ್ ವಿತ್ ಫ್ಲಾಶ್ BIOS. ಈಗ ನ್ಯೂ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗಿನ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಫ್ಲಾಶ್ BIOS ಅನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಪ್ಡೇಟೆಡ್ it is having some updated software which supports new devices. Next component of motherboard is CMOS. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So CMOS is the physical part of the motherboard. CMOS is a physical part of the motherboard, and it is a type of memory chip to store date, time and system setup parameters. It is a type of memory chip which will store ಅಂದ್ರೆ CMOS ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಡೇಟ್, ಟೈಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಸೆಟಪ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ CMOS ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. So when you switch on your computer, at the bottom of your computer you can see the date, time and some of the parameters, system parameters like battery charges and all. So CMOS is used to store the date, time and system setup parameters. Next is slots. Slots are opening space in a computer where we can insert a printed circuit board. Slot is a opening space in a computer, so we can insert a printed circuit board. Slots are also called as expansion slots. It is also called as expansion slot, which is located in the motherboard and it will be used to increase the performance of the computer. So the slots is the space in a computer where we can insert the printed circuit board, and it is also called as expansion slots, which is located in the motherboard and it is used to increase the performance of the computer. There are several types of slots. We will see one by one. First one is ISA slot, Industry Standard Architecture slot. So this ISA slot is used to connect modem and some of the input devices like keyboard, mouse. So the ISA slot is used to connect the modem and input devices. And next is PCI slot. Is nothing but peripheral component interconnect slot. So PCI slot is used to connect graphic accelerated cards and sound cards. The graphic accelerated card and sound cards are connected by using the PCI slot. These graphic card and accelerated cards and sound cards are used to get the good visualization and also good sound effects. So next is AGP slot, that is accelerated graphic code. So here it will provide the access to graphic accelerated card in order to enhance the visualization experience for the user. So it is mainly used for the gaming purpose. So get the best visual experience. These AGP slots are used. And the next type of slot is RAM slot. RAM slot is used to install the memory. So the RAM slot is used to install the memory. There are two types of RAM slot. First one is SIM and next one is DIMM. SIM is nothing but single inline memory module and DIMM is dual inline memory module. And next type is processor slot, which is mainly used to insert the processor chip. Processor chip is the largest chip on motherboard. So the processor slot is used to insert the processor chip. And the last one is PCI Express slot. This PCI Express slot, it has faster bus architecture than AGP and PCI slot. So the PCI Express slot, which having the faster bus architecture than AGP and PCI. So these are the types of slot. First one is ISA slot, PCI slot, AGP slot, and RAM slot, processor slot, PCI Express slot. Let's see what is the PC card. PC cards are used in laptop computers, which will include Wi-Fi card, network card, and external modem. It is used in laptop computers, which includes Wi-Fi card, network card, and external modem. Mainly used to get the internet connections for your laptops. The next component of motherboard is disk controllers. So basically what it is, the disk controller enables the CPU to communicate with the hard disk, floppy disk, and some disk drives. So the disk controllers enable the CPU to communicate with the hard disk, floppy disk, and disk drives. So it provides the interface between the disk drive and bus for the exchange of data. For the exchange of data, this controller provides acts as an interface between the disk drive and the bus. Next, this controller, which is having two categories. First one is hard disk controller. So, hard disk controller is a circuit which enables the computer to read and write the information to the hard drive. The hard drive ಗೆ information ಅನ್ನು read ಮತ್ತೆ write ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ hard disk controller ಅನ್ನು use ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Hard disk controller, it is a circuit which enables the computer to read and write the information to hard drive. Next is floppy disk controller. Floppy disk controller, it is an electronic chip controller and it acts as an interface between computer and floppy disk drives. So, the floppy disk controller, it is an electronic chip controller which acts as an interface between the computer and the floppy disk drive. And so, this controller, it is an electronic circuit, enables the CPU to communicate with the hard disk, floppy disk and some other disk drives, and it provides the interface between disk drive and bus for the exchange of data between them. And it is having two categories, that is hard disk controller and floppy disk controller. In hard disk controller enables the computer to read and write the data to the data of the information to hard drive, and floppy disk controller, it is an electronic chip controller and it acts as an interface between computer and the floppy disk drive.